New York, big city of dreams.
I'm coming straight out.
New York, big city of dreams.
NYC.
Right now, I mean, we can talk about Cole. Like,
Yeah.
I was pretty harsh on Cole last week. He strung together a couple really good games. Didn't play particularly well against Duke last night. I still need to go back and watch that game. I had my own game during that time, but against Wake Forest and Syracuse, I mean, he's been playing really, really well, 25 and 28 respectively, 8 of 13 from the field.
Pretty
against
good.
Syracuse, got to the line, or 7 threes. He was just bombing away against the zone. And then Wake Forest, he got to the line 8 times and converted all 8 of them. So he's in 4 or 5 from 3. So he's shooting the ball better. He's 7 assists in both of those games to combine 3 turnovers. So he's kind of starting to find his groove. And again, like I loved Cole coming into. I thought he was my preseason pick for Player of the Year. I thought he was going to be utterly dominant. And I think something that I wish we covered a little bit more last week when we were talking about Cole is just the team context that he's dealing with right now. Like, UNC is extremely reluctant to provide him with any space. His supporting cast is much, much worse than I thought it would be. There's a couple grad transfers that really have not lived up to the bill at all. And Roy Williams is always going to play 2 centers. So I think he has lacked some of that burst. And I said I had finishing concerns with him last week. I still do. It was pretty bad for the majority of the time up until his injury, and he still has some games. Like, he was 4-14 against Duke with 9 points. That's probably just not going to cut it.
But spacing's probably an issue. Yeah.
When you're playing with 2 bigs that can't shoot and they're clogging the lane all the time, it makes it that much harder. So, I mean, look, everyone looks better with NBA space, but you do have to imagine that his burst and just ability to get all the way to the rim and finish will probably look even better than most other prospects when he gets to the league. So, I mean, I think Cole is really interesting and definitely someone that can take over that 5th spot. I do like him as an off-the-ball guard. I really do.
Really?
He's still not the best decision maker. I view him more as a combo than a true point guard.
Okay.
I'll say that. I think he's a combo compared to like the LaMELO, Killian, where I really want them operating my offense.
How tall
most
is he?
of the time.
He's like, 6'3", I believe?
Yeah, he's 6'3", but when we're talking about like having multiple ball handlers on the court, and he's a really good shooter. Like, that's just what the numbers haven't been there totally this year. I think he's like 36% from 3, but he's starting to really heat up, and he takes a ton of pull-ups. So again, similar to Anthony Edwards, those numbers are going to be skewed towards difficulty.
Right.
But I think Cole's step backs and space creation, those are still some of the best flashes in the class. So if you're buying the shot making, I think his shot making and shooting ability is one of the most bankable traits of anyone at the top of this class.
Right.
So in terms of the Knicks fit, it might not be the best because we don't have that like long-term point guard, playmaker, floor general. But if we're talking about like other fits, like I don't know if it would be defensively tenable with him and Trey, but man, on offense, that would be unstoppable. So like that's kind of the look that the fit that I'm looking at for Cole, which isn't really, I'm sure, what Knicks fans want to hear. But again, we've talked about this, how many dudes on the Knicks right now are really going to be a part of our long term? So if you're buying, and you're going to say, hey, Jake, you buy the shot long term. We can't shoot for anything right now.
It doesn't sound bad to me. I'm not going to lie. It doesn't sound bad to me.
It's not horrible, but what I want to just make clear is that with Cole, I don't think you're getting your point guard for the future that you can give him the ball and roll it out there and say, let's go. I don't, because the decision-making just isn't there. But if you want a guard who can play alongside other guards and can be one of multiple ball handlers on the court, can attack secondary pick and rolls, is a great pull-up shooter, can get to the rim, and be that kind of like scoring guard to if we pick up a playmaking guard, I think that's an ideal fit. So, again, Cole, I think I was a little bit too harsh on him last week.
Okay.
And I can see myself ending with him as a top 5 pick because if we're like the college samples haven't been good for anyone. So if we're just basing off pre-college samples, I liked Cole a lot.
Okay. Yeah. You know what I want to ask you something because you started talking about tiers right now and tiers and clumps. So I want to get your idea of like who's in what clump because right now you have Anthony Edwards, who's you say is unequivocally the top tier, right?
Not necessarily, honestly. I would say Anthony Edwards and LaMelo are my top two.
Oh, okay.
All right.
So you put them together. That's interesting.
Yeah, no, I think LaMelo is a really good number 2 in this class. A ton of people have him number 1, and I can't really argue that. I've just always bought Ant's flashes a lot more. Not a lot more, but I just buy that he can turn that into a consistent basis a little bit more than everyone else.
Okay.
But hey, I mean, he had an awful game and they got blown out by 30 yesterday. So I get the skeptics. I really do. So I would say those two are my tier 1. And then my tier 2, I'm kind of impressed. Like, I like Denny. I would say Denny and Killian are like my tier 2 because I think I'm pretty set on those 4 as my top 4.
All right.
So those 2 would probably be my tier 2.
And Killian can't shoot. Killian can't shoot off the catch and shoot, right? He can't shoot.
Catch and shoot, yeah, that's his big thing, the catch off the catch and shoot.
Come on, Kill. You gotta get that, man. You gotta get that.
Yeah, so my tier 3 then has the guys I named and Devin Vassell from Florida State. He might not be a great fit for the Knicks because the ceiling isn't so high, and I don't even think the Knicks would fall in his range. He's going to be like a fringe lottery guy, but he's someone that, like, if you just appreciate great team defense and 3-and-D prospects, you should check him out because he's awesome. So, but again, that tier 3 of Cole, R.J. Hampton, Obi Toppin, Vassell, Onyeka Okongwu, and Kyra Lewis can fluctuate any time by the day. Like, if you ask me in a month, I'm sure it's going to be different, but I kind of like those guys as my top 11 right now.
Okay, all right, cool. That's good to know. All right, cool. So, Cole Anthony. So, anything else you need to say about Cole Anthony? You've seen you're buying on the shooting. He's not a primary guard. Defensively, what are your thoughts on him?
So defensively, I mean, we talked about, like, he has pop around the rim, so he'll make a couple of weak side rotations. He can get lost. Like, he can get lost off the ball. He'll kind of, like, end up in no man's land sometimes. But again, like, he does have a good frame. He does have some tools. He's strong, so he can absorb that contact. Like, he's not a great defender. Like, nothing really pops on that end. But I don't think he's a bad. Like, there are some other guards we'll talk about that have, like, significant issues with them being a negative on defense for the first 4 or 5 years of their career. Like, I don't really have that issue with him. I think he'll figure it out. And the effort, it's been effort too with him sometimes. Like, he's had to carry a huge offensive load at basically every level. So I just wonder again if his shots get scaled back, his usage on the ball gets scaled back. And, like, not only does his offensive efficiency get maximized because he can get more easy catch and shoot looks and more pull-up looks and just attacking closeouts and doing his game up there, but then maybe he can exert more energy on defense. So I think him maybe in a rescinded role, playing with other ball handlers is probably ideal for him.
All right.
Okay, cool.
That's cool. Any questions?
I mean, I think it pretty much covered everything because I did catch some of Cole Anthony's games and stuff. Like, I did like the way he played against Syracuse and Wake Forest. Like, I really believe, like, you know, if there were any doubts about his draft status, like, that, I think those 2 games really, like, upped his, you know, his stock.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Agree.
But then I also saw the game against Duke, and I was like, but yeah, like, basically everything that Jake said, like, I'm pretty much on board with. Like, you know, it's pretty much what I saw in those games too, so.
All right. Yeah. Cool. Now, I got to ask you about somebody that I personally... I want to ask you about. People have been asking, like, yo, people have been telling me when I'm on the live, yo, Jay Ellis, Halliburton, you gotta check this guy out. Gotta check this guy out.
New York, big city of dreams.
I'm coming straight out.
New York, big city of dreams.